Hey everyone, Dix is here back again, and we've just wrapped up the third beta of the finals. It's been an incredible ride watching the community react to the game, and also witnessing the player base expanding beyond our wildest dreams, peaking at an astronomical 264,874 players. I mean, it is clear that the hype is real for this game, but as we've seen, numbers only tell part of the story. Now, whilst it's been a blast playing, like many games in its beta stages, there is issues to unpack and improvements to be made. First up then, let's talk about performance. Personally, my experience has been pretty smooth sailing. The FPS was as crisp as always, and the in-game servers were responsive. It seems like, for the most part, the community hadn't faced many issues here either, with many people stating that they either had no issues or just an overall improvement in the frames department. I never felt any of that moonwalking movement or lag in this game, this beta, and honestly, it was just a way more enjoyable experience once you actually loaded into a match. However, not everything was as polished, and as I said, it was actually once you loaded into a match. And a lot of the fun experience was really interrupted by a plethora of lobby issues that made the experience very suboptimal for the masses. Of course, now, Embark literally did not expect to have this many players in the game, and they were obviously very grateful for everyone going in and checking it out. I don't think that this will have huge consequences for those new players trying to get in, but it definitely did set some problems up for Embark to fix. I do think that the lobby needs to be streamlined for a bit more of an intuitive and kind of like an instant experience across the board. Maybe even a way to indicate if they're on console, PC, or if they're just a Steam friend as well. I would like the UI to be a little bit more better for this, as I feel like you have to kind of do like a bit too much. Maybe kind of like display the most recent players if they're online. So for example, if my friend and me had been playing, we got off and then the next day I got on, maybe pop up saying like they're online. Very similar to like what's in Fortnite, but I'm not sure if it's across any of the games as well. Now for this video, I want to actually dedicate a big chunk of it to the matchmaking system, because it was really more of a matchmaking system, I guess, like, is a really weird way to put it. When I was like thinking about how I can describe it, I was trying to like use words, but then I thought like matchmaking was like a pretty damn good way to like kind of put it down. Putting it into perspective, if you wasn't too sure about this, some players often actually found themselves in a lobby with either no teammates or even, in some cases, no one at all. I think around like 50% of my matches were actually affected by this as well, especially actually playing as a solo, but that could obviously just be on me, you know, not having any friends at all. In all seriousness, I do think that this matchmaking system needs an overhaul too. It did its job obviously for the most part of the betas, but once it actually got tested by player counts, you can see that it really did suffer. The solutions for this are obvious. Don't put people into games that are empty, or even you could maybe queue solo players if an unranked match had already been like started less than 3 minutes into the game. Those solo players could then fill in, or duo players could fill in to maybe take the spots, just to then reduce load overall. I think that's a pretty cool idea. I don't think I'd be annoyed about joining a match that's already kind of just started. Now, for ranked matches, I really think that you should never ever be able to have a player queue in and find themselves alone. I think that that's a very poor design, and it could actually be changed by having some sort of system in game to fill the lobby before the actual matchmaking is done. Then both parties get to see who they'll be able to play with. And then basically they can opt out queuing if they, you know, decide to like join in with the light sniper looking to hit diamond. Content creator servers like mine, my Discord server, and LFG servers really became lifelines for those seeking full teams. I don't think that it should take people like us to be able to, you know, do that. I mean, we obviously don't mind because we love the game, but it would just be something pretty nice to see, you know, Embark actually fix and solve themselves if they can. But actually, I think for the unranked experience, they could introduce maybe like a dedicated solo game mode, or, you know, like a solo flex queue option as well. That would then obviously allow players who want to kind of go at it alone to, you know, play on an even playing field. And obviously then it could open up the game to a whole new style of play if they had, you know, like a solo mode, maybe even like a practice mode, like a free-for-all, for example. I think that would actually be super sick to, you know, experience and have fun with. Now, the Crosshair overlay controversy, that has kind of like split the community like straight down the middle. Embark are obviously standing firm against having third-party crosshairs, but it's a real toss-up right now between people adhering to the rules and then people actually gaining the competitive edge that they crave. With the current shooting system, bullets are actually flying out from the center of the screen, and having that in the game, it almost does sort of beg for like a precise point of aim, and I really can see what the appeal is to using it. Even if Embark did actually stand strong with their stance, it actually opens up the players that actually have access to using crosshair tools on, you know, their monitors built in, for example, and even in desperate stances, it kind of brings back that like 2009 Modern Warfare 2 trick shot community resorting to some old methods as well. I feel like Embark could either change up the way shooting is, although I personally like it, or actually maybe introduce some sort of in-game crosshair customization option that could actually nullify the advantage of external tools, kind of then bringing everyone back to the same starting line if people are just going to use it anyway and find ways around it. Now onto a more serious advantage problem, cheaters. It's the bane of every online game, of course, and something that every company has to deal with. As the finals reached its peak, so did the number of cheaters. Once players started noticing some issues with players hitting one too many realistic shots, that fine line in return between skill and cheats became a kind of battleground for accusations across the board. Of course, there were, actual legitimate cheaters out there though, but it is hard to tell though. Is the game really going to be heading towards a cleaner environment? I think that it's going to be a tough one. It's going to be a tough battle for Embark, but considering it's just also in the crosshairs right now because of the game's success and the game's uniqueness, it could really be that Embark's ban hammer has been improving since the last few days, or perhaps with the decline in the player numbers, the cheaters have decided to move on away from the finals. But at the end of the day, there will still always be cheaters in games. Transparency and communication from Embark would kind of be key here for the community, and I'd actually press for like some sort of regular updates on anti-cheat measures, and also maybe mention some success stories just to kind of reassure the community that fair play does remain a top priority. Anyways, heading on to the new content in the game, of course, Skyway Stadium. That has some real beautiful elements to it. I don't really like how it plays in ranked at the moment, but I think that's something I had to get used to. However, for game modes such as like Bank It, I've really been having a blast. I think it's perfect for that. The community also did seem to point out some good takes that the map kind of looks like a blend between Monaco and Seoul, which I do agree with, but I've actually said this and I think that it's mainly to do with some of those building choices that they chose, but obviously that wasn't their full intention to have. We also saw the introduction of a new combat, support and objective scoring system. It's always refreshing to see your contributions recognized on the leaderboard, and that is something that I've been pressing since my closed beta 2 review. It really gives that sense of achievement beyond the victory, and I hope that this does play a further role for things down the line, including potentially ranked. So, the rank system then, it's obviously a hot topic right now, no doubt. Feedback has been lukewarm at best here on the rank system, and the cries for a robust matchmaking system are growing louder within each beta test. There is a consensus that something's got to give for rank to truly shine in this game. I've spoken to a nice handful of ranked players. Thank you so much to everyone that actually helped me make this video. I really appreciate all of you. If you messaged and replied, thank you guys. And I've actually sifted through the feedback on that as well. It is clear that skill-based matchmaking should be a staple for ranked play. And yes, it would obviously need fine-tuning, particularly in tournaments that need to be, for example, more punishing for getting knocked out of the first or second round. In the finals of the finals, the tournament mode took a turn this time around. A unique approach to deter the first cash out and camp strategies was implemented. While you might miss that initial rush of an advantage, the playing field does kind of feel a bit more even now, but I wonder what you think of the new changes to the final. I actually do miss the 3 rounds in the closed beta 2 instead of the 4 that we have to currently play, but that's just my take. I did actually feel as if it really allowed other players to catch up to each other a little bit more, and it wasn't as daunting having to play the full 45 minutes and instead you had 30 minutes of your time. But speaking of the leaderboard, Let's Do It has continued to hold the fort at the top for the 3rd time in a row. Watching the chase from On God's behalf was actually really enjoyable, so I hope to see him take the #1 spot for the first time on 4 released, as Let's Do It's really solidified himself for a well-earned rest if he does decide not to push for it again. One more thing for adding in, custom lobbies. It's becoming more than a request, it's basically a necessity at this point. With the community clamoring for it, it's a high time Embark gave us a nod that they're thinking about including this into the game. They are really crucial for community-driven events, maybe even some practice sessions, and those real fun showdowns that we love to see. But personally, I think that it's a bit more than just playing the game, as I think people will produce some real beautiful content on this game with an in-game camera mode, for example, so I'd be really excited to hear some news about that. Now, someone grabbed through a new event leak from Embark's website. The floor is lava. It's an interesting twist that promises to bring a whole new dynamic to the game, which I'm assuming the floor turns to lava. I've got an exclusive coming your way, an interview with the Titan movement god in Apex Legends, Lyric, discussing the ins and outs of the finals. It feels mostly right throughout the full game, though the heavy class does really kind of tread that fine line. A tweak here or there could actually bring it perfectly in line with the others, but we really do have a great debate currently, and that is the RPG and of course the stun gun. On one side, the RPG Nerf squad argues that it shouldn't be able to one-shot lights, and then on the other, the stun gun crowd believes that it shouldn't mess with the player's aim. I think that it's going to be a real task for Embark to decide on what they want, and even if they will even, change them in the first place. They might be kind of Giga Chads and hold their ground and say no, and just everything is just completely the way it is right now, and just allow the community to kind of learn how to counter them both. Now, of course, remember, at the end of the day, your voice in these matters is vital, so make sure you light up the comment section with your take on Beta 3 and how you found it. And again, keep an eye out for my sit down with Lyric. It's an incredible discussion, and I'll actually release 2 videos, a highlights breakdown video, and then a full podcast style video for your preferences. That's all from me until there's some more news on the finals. Look towards the Game Awards show in December as well, as some people are speculating that maybe Embark could make a little sneaky appearance in there too. But until then, my name is Styx, and if you don't know the outro by now, you should. As always, I'll see you on the podium.